What if I told you that most of the suffering in your life does not come from the things you face, but from the things you allow? The energy you tolerate, the relationships you endure, the compromises you make. Slowly they shape your life more than your dreams ever could. Think about it. How much of your stress comes from people who drain your spirit? How often do you bend your principles just to make others comfortable? How many times have you silenced your own voice just to keep the peace? There comes a moment when you must ask yourself, am I protecting my peace or am I sacrificing it? And if I am sacrificing it, for what and for whom? Today we look to the wisdom of the Buddha to uncover not just what we should seek, but what we should refuse to accept. 6 things, 6 quiet, corrosive forces that weaken your spirit, disrupt your clarity, and steal your joy. This is not just about letting go. This is about reclaiming yourself. 1. Do not tolerate energy vampires. Have you ever walked away from a conversation feeling completely drained, as if someone had reached into your soul and taken a piece of you without asking? Perhaps you entered the room feeling fine, maybe even at peace. But after just a few minutes, you found yourself exhausted, tense, and inexplicably burdened. These are not mere coincidences. This is the work of what Buddhist teachings refer to as asuras, beings consumed by their own suffering, trapped in a cycle of endless conflict. They do not seek resolution, only release, and they feed on the energy of those around them to sustain their turmoil. Energy vampires come in many forms. They may appear as friends, as family members, as colleagues who lean on you so heavily that you feel as though you are carrying their entire existence. They are the ones who always have a crisis, always need saving, always leave you feeling emotionally depleted. But here's the truth that many struggle to accept. Not every problem is yours to solve. Not every burden is yours to carry. Buddhism teaches us the power of mindful detachment. To be compassionate does not mean to be consumed. To be kind does not mean to be depleted. If a person's presence consistently brings you distress, it is time to ask yourself, am I offering support, or am I allowing my own light to be dimmed? Is my compassion enabling their suffering, or am I simply a vessel for their turmoil to flow through? You must understand this. It is not cruelty to protect your peace. It is not selfishness to step away from a one-sided dynamic that serves only to exhaust you. It is, in the deepest sense, an act of self-respect. Imagine yourself as this river. You are meant to flow, to move freely, to nourish and be nourished in return. But what happens when debris blocks your path? The water stagnates. It loses its clarity. The same is true of your energy. When you allow others to throw their burdens upon you without regard, without balance, you become weighed down, unable to move forward. And yet, when you learn to let go, when you learn to create space for yourself, you return to your natural state, pure, unburdened, at peace. You yourself, as much as anybody in the entire universe, deserve your love and affection. Buddha, the lesson here is simple yet profound. Protect your energy as you would protect a sacred fire. Let it burn bright. Let it warm those who come with kindness and respect. But do not allow others to extinguish it with their endless demands and turmoil. Your energy is precious. Your peace is sacred. Guard it, and you will find freedom. 2. Do not tolerate the erosion of your principles. Small compromises lead to great corruption. Imagine a pot of pure water. Add just one drop of poison, and the whole pot is tainted. Life is the same. Every decision, every action, every moment of compromise chips away at the foundation of who you are. At first it seems insignificant, a harmless white lie, a minor favor that contradicts your beliefs, a small step away from what you know to be right. But soon, these tiny concessions accumulate and before you know it, you are standing on unsteady ground, wondering how you lost your way. Buddha taught us that virtue is not negotiable. If you bend your principles for the sake of convenience, soon you will not recognize yourself. Integrity is like a tree. It takes years to grow, but only moments to be cut down. In the rush of life, in the push to please others, in the pressure to conform, it is easy to justify small compromises, but the cost of doing so is far greater than any temporary comfort it may bring. Think of the wise monk who walked away from a dishonest deal. His decision was not based on external rewards, nor on fear of punishment. He simply knew that to engage in deception even once would be to set a precedent that could unravel everything he had built. The same is true for all of us. Every time we choose honesty over deceit, integrity over convenience, we strengthen the foundation of our character. In this world, there will always be moments where standing firm in your values is difficult. There will be pressure, temptation, and even moments of doubt. But remember this, those who truly respect you will never ask you to compromise your integrity. The people worth having in your life will admire your steadfastness, even when it is inconvenient for them. The only ones who push you to betray your principles are those who benefit from your weakness. If it is not right, do not do it. If it is not true, do not say it. Morda, you are the guardian of your own virtue. Do not let the world convince you that your principles are negotiable. Stand firm, stay true, and let your integrity be the light that guides your path. 3. Do not tolerate manipulation. Manipulation is like a vine. It wraps itself around you so subtly that you don't realize you are being choked. It doesn't always come in the form of outright deception. Often it's cloaked in concern, disguised as love, or presented as obligation. The Buddha warned us about Mara's forces that lead us astray, pulling us further from the path of clarity and peace. Have you ever found yourself agreeing to something you didn't want to do, simply because you felt guilty saying no? Have you ever questioned your own judgment because someone skillfully made you doubt yourself? Manipulation isn't always loud. It's the subtle erosion of your autonomy, the quiet pressure that makes you feel obligated, the emotional debt you never signed up for. The most dangerous manipulators are not always malicious. Sometimes they are people you care for, friends, family members, even partners who use your kindness as a tool to get what they want. They might not even realize they are doing it, but that doesn't make it any less harmful. They pull at your heartstrings, play the victim, or create an illusion of dependence, making you believe that without you, they will fall apart. But here is a truth that cannot be ignored. True kindness is not obedience. True love is not control. Compassion does not mean sacrificing yourself at the altar of someone else's expectations. Buddhism teaches us the importance of discernment, knowing when to give and when to step away. Ask yourself, am I giving out of love or out of obligation? Am I being asked to compromise my well-being for the sake of someone else's comfort? These are questions that must be answered with honesty, for the cost of ignoring them is far too high. Stepping away from manipulation does not make you unkind. It makes you wise. Setting boundaries does not make you selfish. It makes you strong. The moment you begin to prioritize your peace, manipulators will call you cold. Let them. Their discomfort is not your burden to carry. You were not born to be someone else's pawn. You were not placed on this earth to be a puppet, dancing to the tune of another's expectations. The Buddha teaches us that inner peace comes from clarity, and clarity comes from freeing yourself from the tangled web of deceit, guilt, and undue influence. If someone truly loves you, they will not need to manipulate you. They will respect your boundaries, your choices, and your need for peace. And if they do not, if they demand your compliance, if they twist your kindness into obligation, then it is not love, but control, disguised as affection. Do not dwell in the past. Do not dream of the future. Concentrate the mind on the present moment. Buddha, so step back, reclaim your space. Let go of the weight that is not yours to carry. And most importantly, remember this: your peace is not a bargaining chip. Do not hand it over to those who have not earned it. 4. Do not tolerate those who diminish your dreams. The Buddha taught that desire, when aligned with wisdom, is not greed but purpose. Yet there will always be those who try to dim your light. They disguise their own fear as concern, their own doubts as advice. They say, "Be realistic," when what they really mean is, "Stay small so I don't feel uncomfortable." How often have you shared a dream only to be met with dismissive laughter or a shake of the head? You step forward with excitement only to be pulled back by the heavy hands of cynicism. The world is full of those who impose their limitations on others, not because they wish to harm, but because they do not know any better. They fear what they do not understand. They shrink in the face of possibility. And so, rather than expanding themselves, they ask you to contract. But the path to fulfillment is never found in silence. If a bird listened to those who feared flying, it would never leave the nest. If a river heeded the warnings of still waters, it would never reach the ocean. And if the Buddha had listened to those who doubted his awakening, the world would never have known his teachings. Do not let others define the limits of your sky. Their fears are not your reality. Their hesitations are not your truth. A dream is not meant to be understood by everyone. It is meant to be honored by the one who carries it. Your dreams are sacred, not subject to approval. They are whispers from the deepest part of your soul, guiding you toward your purpose. The Buddha did not teach passivity. He taught courage, the courage to walk the path, even when others cannot see the destination. The courage to believe in yourself when the world tells you otherwise. The courage to create, to explore, to become. You must protect this flame of inspiration from the winds of doubt, for once extinguished, it is difficult to rekindle. So when they laugh, smile. When they doubt, persist. When they say, "That's impossible," remember, impossibility is only the limit of their vision, not yours. Keep going. Keep building. Keep believing. No one saves us but ourselves. No one can, and no one may. We ourselves must walk the path. Buddha. 5. Do not tolerate losing yourself for others. You were not born to be someone else's reflection. You were born to shine as your own light. Yet, somewhere along the way, in the rush to care for others, in the need to be accepted, in the desire to belong, you began to shrink. You made yourself smaller so others could feel big. You softened your voice so others could be heard. And in doing so, you lost sight of yourself. The Buddha teaches us that clinging to people, to expectations, to the idea that love requires sacrifice, only leads to suffering. Love deeply, but do not lose yourself in that love. True connection is two souls walking side by side, not one being consumed by the other. If you must disappear to keep a relationship, then that relationship is not love. It is dependency. The world does not need a copy of someone else. It needs the unique, radiant being that is you. When you shrink yourself to fit into someone else's vision, you betray the sacred essence of who you are. And what is the cost? A lifetime spent living for others, yet never truly living for yourself. Stand tall in your truth. Speak with confidence. Love fiercely, but never at the expense of your own soul. The greatest act of love you can offer the world is to be fully, unapologetically yourself. To love oneself is the beginning of a lifelong romance. Buddha. 6. Do not tolerate relationships without depth. Superficial relationships are like empty bowls. They take up space, but they do not nourish. They may be filled with pleasantries and small talk, but they lack the substance that feeds the soul. A life surrounded by many but truly connected to none is a lonely existence. Have you ever sat in a room full of people and felt utterly alone? Have you ever spent time with someone only to realize that the connection is hollow, like a shell with nothing inside? True relationships, those that bring meaning and fulfillment, are not built on convenience or proximity, but on presence, understanding, and sincerity. Choose depth, choose presence, choose relationships that feed your spirit, not just your schedule. The right people will see you, hear you, and uplift you. They will listen with their hearts, not just their ears. They will cherish you for who you truly are, not for what you can do for them. At the end of life, it is not the number of acquaintances that brings peace, but the depth of love shared with a few. Seek those who nourish your soul. Be that person for others. And remember, true connection is a gift, one that must be nurtured and protected. A single candle can light 1,000 others without diminishing its own flame. Buddha, life is a fleeting moment, a delicate breath in the vast universe. Too often, we spend it entangled in situations that deplete us, bound by expectations that do not align with our true nature. But wisdom lies in knowing what to release and what to embrace. The Buddha's teachings remind us that peace is not given. It is cultivated, nurtured, and fiercely protected. As you walk your path, do not allow energy vampires to consume your spirit. Set boundaries, not as walls of isolation, but as sacred lines that guard your well-being. Do not compromise your principles for fleeting comfort, for integrity, once fractured, is difficult to restore. Beware of those who manipulate under the guise of care. True kindness uplifts, never coerces. Hold fast to your dreams, even when others attempt to shrink them to fit their own fears. Love, but do not lose yourself in the process. And above all, seek depth over quantity in relationships, for a single soul who truly understands you is worth more than a crowd of indifferent voices. Imagine a single candle in a darkened room. Its flame does not diminish by lighting another. In the same way, your inner light, your truth, your purpose, your peace, should not be dimmed by the shadows of the world. Let it shine, let it grow, and let it guide you toward a life of meaning. The greatest act of love you can offer yourself is the permission to let go. Let go of the burdens that no longer serve you. Let go of relationships that do not uplift you. Let go of the past that chains you. And in doing so, watch as your soul expands into freedom, into clarity, into peace. Let go, and you will have peace. Buddha, if this wisdom resonated with you, take a moment to reflect. What in your life is dimming your spirit? What can you release today to move closer to peace? Share your thoughts in the comments below. Your journey may inspire another. And if these teachings spoke to you, subscribe to Quiet Wisdom for more insights into living with clarity, intention, and profound peace.